Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast. I am your host, Chuck Manatee. And in today's episode, we are going to be covering, like promised, Season 1 of Goosebumps, which came out in 2023. So, without any further ado, let's get right into the review. And as we go through it, I will mention the cast as I'm going through the review. So, let's start. So, first opening... the first opening bit is in 1993. A creepy kid is doing creepy stuff. The door rings and no one is there. Things are falling from the ceiling and all ghostly things are happening to this kid. The house blows up and in the fire you see a demon face in it, which is actually pretty cool. Then we fast forward to 2023. You are then sent to a school situation. There is a big school rally run by Isaiah, and he's played by Zach Morris. He's getting everyone hyped for the game and so on and so forth. After this, he's pulled aside by his counselor, who's actually Colin. He's played by Rob Hubel. If you don't know who Rob Hubel is, just a little fun fact, he actually cameoed in Happy Endings. He was a little bit of a douchey, also teacher character. So he was supposed to make some coleslaw, got really drunk and landed up not making coleslaw for a student that the student was highly looked up to him, thought this teacher was the best thing since sliced bread, and he landed up just being a total moron. So it's quite funny that he played in that. But anyway, so this teacher, aka Colin, says to Isaiah that he can't play the big football game unless he gets an A for his history test. So it jumps to the next scene. You then see and I'm talking about Isaiah's parents, arguing about Isaiah's football scholarship. The mom wants to save and the dad doesn't. Oops. Yeah. So they're just having arguments about, whether he's going to get a scholarship or whether they should save to help him go to college and continue his football career. So Margot finds Isaiah moping outside. They conversate in egg language, which my girlfriend told me about because I had no idea what the hell they were saying. They were just speaking gobbledygook, but she says it's called egg language. So yeah, there's that. So, and eventually they talk about the history test, which Isaiah convinces Margot to let him cheat from her. After the test, he thanks Margot. They look like they're going to have a bit of a shipping moment, but he's abruptly interrupted by Isaiah's girlfriend, who is Allison, and she's played by Renan Payne. That a party she wants to host is getting party blocked, that's a word I made up, by her folks. So Isaiah offers a new venue in the form of a creepy house, and this house is owned by Nathan Bratt, who is played by Justin Long. I quite like Justin Long. He actually played alongside Bruce Willis in one of the Die Hards, so if you haven't checked that out, please do. So they break into the house, which is Nathan Bratt's, and he's currently not occupying that house, and they now basically have a house to party in. So the four partygoers, which starts off with Isaiah, James and Allison, is abruptly interrupted by Margot, but they have a situation where the lights go out and Margot appears after that, and the lights kind of just switch off mysteriously. So Isaiah then decides that he needs to find the breaker. And for some reason, he thinks that the breakers are always, well, every single horror situation is like, oh, the breakers, yeah, those are in the basement. Can you not put breakers in a place that's like really, really friendly looking and not underground? Guys, come on. Like, this is that's one thing I don't understand. One, when you're watching horrors, there's a situation where wherever there's a breaker or the lights go out, the guys have to go downstairs. Not when I say downstairs, into a basement to switch it on. Or when the bad person is in the house and they're chasing the people in a horror, people run upstairs. Make it make sense. Please explain that to me. I'd love to know. Tell me in the comments. So anyway, Isaiah makes his way back upstairs. The doors close by themselves, but Isaiah is oblivious to this because he's still on his way up. He's found a camera downstairs. And if you can remember in the beginning, I was talking about a house that caught fire. That camera was actually being used by the young lad that was in that house that caught fire. So just keep that in mind. So the three partygoers that are at the top are waiting for Isaiah to come to the top because he's gone downstairs by himself to now switch on the breakers. And they're waiting for him patiently at the top. So the door then closes by itself, and the three of them see the door close and that none of them closed it. And what happens is Isaiah's on his way up and he thinks he's pulling a prank, so he swings the door open, takes a photo as the door opens, to give them a fright or whatever the case is. And he lands up taking a photo of Allison and then of Margot. So Allison makes it clear she is not happy with Margot being at the party. So obviously when Margot came, her sort of whole demeanor changed towards Isaiah. So she did it very passive aggressively. So she wasn't outright saying, no, you shouldn't be here, but she was throwing a lot of shade. Let's just say that. So Allison and Margot have a fight while Lucas, who is played by Will Price, and Margot look on. Margot says to Isaiah she wants to leave the party. So obviously feeling a bit awkward. So Nathan gets home and realizes his house was being partied in, and much nicer than how I would have approached it, but he basically just, threatens to phone the police or whatever the case is. You can see he didn't really want to do it, but then all the teens then scamper. So Allison hears this because she's left because her and Isaiah had a bit of an argument, as I mentioned earlier. So she was already outside and she hears all the commotion, all the kids running from inside the house, and she makes a run for it, but she gets lost in the woods and comes across a mysterious figure in the forest. So at first it appears to be the kid who died in the fire. You can kind of see the hairstyle and so on, and then it gets so you can see silhouette, right? So, and then you do find out that it was actually him by them showing him. So at first you see the silhouette, so you don't know it is him, but you kind of get an indication that it is with the shape and so on. But they do kind of show him very, very early on. He kind of turns into fire. So when I say turns into fire, don't imagine Human Torch. I'm talking like he's a normal kid, starts doing this weird scream thing, and then from like the back of his body, like the ashes and the fire kind of like consume him to look like how he would have looked inside that house when he was burned into a crisp. So it's kind of that thing. But in the midst of this, Isaiah comes to save Allison. He comes to her aid and he saves her. So after that, Isaiah notices some weird things going on with the camera and the photos that were taken. So when they initially took the photos, they didn't see any of the photos on it. But what it seems like is that Isaiah is the only one who can see these photos. So what he notices is that there's a photo of Margot and of Allison, and they look in like very compromising positions. So the one looks like Margot is choking, and the other one looks like Allison is outright dead. But at this point, when Allison's eyes are kind of lit up blue, so what I think at this point, because I'm going to do it episode per episode, because remember I told you guys I haven't seen this. So in the photo of Allison, it looked like her eyes were shining blue, so they kind of looked like she was in the nighttime. So I think when Isaiah saved her. It was, I suppose, it's kind of like a Final Destination thing in a way. So it's like, you kind of skip death's door kind of thing. And Margot looked like she was choking. So he's kind of panicking and he's running to find her and whatever the case is. So he eventually does find her. But just before he does, so Margot's at a vending machine. She clearly clicks a button, let's say it was A9. And she hears something down the corridor in the school, but there's no one else there. It's just her and then that figure. But now that figure is that same guy from the woods that was confronting Allison, right? So you see it's the same person. So as she's like, okay, cool, whatever, what's up, kind of whatever, because you're not going to think like, okay, there was some kid at the end of the corridor who was trying to murder you, you know what I mean? It's not your first thought. So she goes back. Just before she goes back to the vending machine, it's actually a really clever shot where you see the highlight buttons of what she had pressed, right? And they change to something else. So as soon as she has this crunchy bar, chocolate, whatever the case is, she's obviously allergic to peanuts because she starts going into an anaphylactic shock. So at this point, she's there by herself, all the kids are freaking out, and Isaiah comes to her aid, so he saves her life. After this, Isaiah runs to try to find James. As he runs in front of James at the docks, James bumps his car, obviously trying to not hit Isaiah because Isaiah's freaked out now, because the way the photo looked is the same way, the way she was choking while she was having anaphylactic shock was the same as the photos. So he's freaked out. He runs to James. So I'm like, okay. And no, James bumps his car. At this point, James is not even caring about what he has to say, because he's like, dude, I've just bumped my car, what the hell? So Isaiah jumps out the car. James jumps out the car. He kind of shouts at Isaiah. Isaiah's trying to explain to him what's going on. And James really couldn't care less. He was like, oh, cool, yeah, whatever, haunted camera, blah, blah, blah. And James grabs the camera and then takes a photo of Isaiah. And Isaiah's like, what the hell, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay. So now Isaiah sees a photo, but now he's the only one who can see this. So he tries to show James, none of the photos come out. So at this point, for a fact, cool, Isaiah's the only one who can see these photos. So he sees a photo of himself in his football gear, but with his bone sticking out of his arm, like he's had a really bad accident, whatever the case is. So he goes home, he's freaking out, he's trying to figure out a way to, sort this out. And he smashes the camera to pieces with a hammer and sets it on fire, throws all the photos inside there, whatever the case is. Cool. So, swaps to a new scene. You see there's a football game in the rain. I really wish they wouldn't do that. It's such a cliche. It's like a dark, generally speaking, when you watch actual NFL football games, just hear me out here. You're watching a football game, it is so well lit, right? Even when it was raining, whatever the case is, that place is lit. It looks like daytime, even if it's nighttime, right? When you're watching a movie, however, somehow they don't have electricity functioning properly. It's so poorly lit, it looks like some auntie is in the crowd and she's just holding a little lighter or whatever the case is. It is so ridiculous. And then it's always raining for some reason. So it's raining and dark when people are playing football in movies, but whatever. Something I noticed. But Isaiah's having the game of his life. He's scoring points. He's throwing crazy long passes, whatever the case is. His dad is in the crowd. He's going nuts. So halftime comes. They go into the locker room. So because of the performance, Isaiah has thought that, well, because I can see that he's thought because he smashed the camera that it's not going to be a problem. But, big but. So he's trying to get the guys hyped. So firstly, he's trying to get the guys hyped in the locker room. He's kind of like the big cheese, the main boy in the football team. He's the, quarterback. What a fish paste. So then you have a situation where He's carrying on, smacking the guys on their shoulders, so on and so forth. And then eventually he gets to a point where he wants to open his locker for something before he runs back onto the field. Lo and behold, the smashed camera, not smashed anymore, is sitting in his locker, which sends him into a bit of a tiz. So he gets back onto the field, and he has a situation where he's kind of freaked out right now, right? So he's not able to function properly. His dad starts noticing, his teacher starts noticing things are not going well. So, excuse me. So it pops over to a scene where you see he can't let go of the ball, but then it swaps in between scenes of like a hellscape and what's actually being seen. So he's seeing this hellscape where that other guy, and now I'm going to tell you who he is because now it's introduced. So his name's Harold. He's actually played by Ben Cockle, and Harold was actually the guy that died in the fire in the beginning. So now that's the person that Allison saw in the forest. It's the person that Margot saw in the corridor and so on. So now he's seeing this guy on the field, does that whole fire thing again, whatever, cool. So you're in between the space. So Harold makes a sort of square around the field so that Isaiah can't get out. So Isaiah has no other choice because he can't let go of the ball. So when it's jumping in between the scenes, it looks like it's melting onto his hand, so he can't let go of the ball. So this he cannot get out of this. He's trapped. So he's trying to throw the ball, trying to make the pass or whatever the case is, and that doesn't go so well. So he can't let go of the ball. His dad notices. There's a teacher that notices. I'm going to mention her just now. Actually, I'll mention her now. So she's Nora, played by Rachel Harris, and so she also notices stuff. She's saying, "Stop the game! Stop the game!" The dad notices, "Hold on a sec, something's not going right here." Eventually, he gets smashed on the field, exactly the same as the photo. You see his bone popped out, and obviously not super going well for Isaiah at this point. After this, it swaps over to a scene where you see Isaiah in the hospital. His dad's there, and Isaiah's bone, obviously, well, he's got a cast on now at this point. His dad's talking about, 6 to 8 month recovery. Isaiah's not very happy because that's obviously scholarship games that people could come and see him play, were kind of squandered at this point, like because of his injury. So he's not able to make those games. And his dad said, "You know what, don't worry, I'll be able to, I'll make a plan to pay for your college tuition," whatever the case is. So it's kind of like around, like it's made Full House since the beginning conversation with the mom kind of thing. So, where he thought that his son was going to get a scholarship, now he's going to have to pay for it. But he's a dad, so he's, a proper dad, so he's actually doing the right thing and, making sure that Isaiah can move forward. Nora pops up at the hospital, and Ben, who is actually Isaiah's dad, he's played by Leonard Roberts, by the way. So Ben, Isaiah's dad, makes his way out into the corridor, outside where his son is, his son's room, where his son's in hospital. Mom's still there with him, and then he goes out, and then gets some really bad news from Nora, saying that Nora says that she saw Harold, and she said Harold knows what we did to him, etc., etc. So at this point, I don't know what they did to him, because in the beginning you just see Harold catching fire and there's a demon face. That's it. You don't actually see any other intervention besides him. So not sure yet. Let's wait and see what happens there. So in the final scene, you actually get Justin Long's character Nathan, just in his house, kind of hanging out, blah blah blah, and Harold presents himself to him and actually possesses Nathan. Turns into smoke, goes into him, and that's how it ends. So yeah, that's the first episode of Goosebumps season 1, episode 1, and it started off a little bit, I don't know, slow for me, I guess. I suppose they're trying to set up characters and stories and so whatever, but it did start a bit slow, so just expect the first 15 minutes not to be whoa, like it starts off pretty cool, but then after that it goes super slow, and then the story sort of starts tying together, and that's when it gets fun, and that's when it gets good. So this is 47 minutes long, so 15 minutes of it being a bit slow in the beginning is really not an issue. The last part just goes and goes and goes and just gets really exciting. So I enjoyed this. Like I said, the first part not so much, but the second part, yes. Cool story, cool cinematography, cool characters. I like Justin Long a lot. His delivery is really good. Some of the younger guys as well. The guy who plays Isaiah, also quite a lot of fun to watch. Bit cocky in the beginning, but he kind of like that. He loses that immediately, which is fun to watch. Like the sort of a jock character going into a character that everyone thinks is crazy, and he's trying to tell them about a spooky thing, which nerds do. Like, I mean, that's what the kind of stuff that I do. Like, telling stories and joking about things and talking about ghosts and goblins. That's like nerd stuff. It's like jocks you don't imagine kind of doing that. So for them to put his character in that sort of arc way, a lot of fun, and especially for story wise, it's a lot of fun to play with. Let's see where they go with it. So I hope, it did well. So I'm very excited to see the rest of this. So we'll carry on with the reviews tomorrow. But if you have seen this episode and enjoyed it, please do let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's review, also let us know in the comments below, as well as showing us some love by liking, sharing, and subscribing. But that is it for today's episode of the Everything Podcast. And we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.